The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and today I thought I would jump on the podcast because I've had a few messages about the Ray Price article that was in the Daily Telegraph about the Parramatta Eels 80s teams up against the Penrith Panthers, the current day Penrith Panthers teams, and a few interesting messages, especially from Penrith fans, I should say. And look, just not disturbingly, rightfully, I should say, rightfully so. Look, Penrith have just won 4 competitions in a row. Now, look, all of you guys and girls, listeners, I should say, you would obviously know that I'm a Parramatta fan. I'm a massive Parramatta Eels fan. You don't call it the Paracave Podcast for nothing, but if you're not a Parramatta fan anyway. So I am a massive Parramatta Eels fan, so I'm assuming that you would think that I would definitely say that the Parramatta Eels team would be the better team up against the current day Panthers team. Well, look, you would be mistaken. And look, there's a whole lot of reasons why. And that is for the simple fact that the Penrith Panthers, look, you could almost say that they are the greatest team ever, or you could say that they are the greatest team in the NRL era, the modern era, or the NRL era, that is for sure, salary cap era. You could say that Parramatta are the greatest team of the 80s. You could say, and then Canterbury fans will be up in arms about that one as well, because they won 4 premierships in the 80s as well. And then, but then some would say that the St. George Dragons, that had the 11 in a row, would be the greatest team ever. But the simple fact of the matter is you cannot compare eras. And the reason why you can't compare eras is because there is so many different things that happen from time to time. So many different things. Rule changes. Rule changes. That is for one. You go from 5 meters to 10 meters. As I just mentioned before, salary cap. These days, for this Penrith Panthers team, no salary cap for the Parramatta Eels team. Other things such as Parramatta training during those days would be, it could be a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning before a Sunday game. Penrith, they are full-time. They are full-time professionals. Now, before I keep on going with this, I just like to say that, look, I was alive when Parramatta won these competitions, but I was very young, and I did not start supporting rugby league and the Eels until 1986. So, look, I'm just going off stats here. I have seen Parramatta Eels highlights, obviously. I've watched all the premiership winning grand finals, and I've watched a lot of Parramatta games of those early 80s in highlight DVDs and the like, but I didn't go to many games of this successful Parramatta Eels team, but I do know a little bit about them, whereas with this Penrith side, obviously it's current day, so I do watch a lot of rugby league, even if Parramatta's not playing, so I do watch the Penrith Panthers play, so I have kept track of them obviously as well, so a little bit of a difference there as well. Look, back in the day when Parramatta were playing, they all had jobs, they had to have a income to football money, which was very, very low in those days, basically supplemented their full-time money that they had at their jobs. So whereas the Penrith players, look, football is full-time these days, so there's a massive difference there. The training facilities are different. Penrith's obviously got their centre of excellence that they have these days and have now for a while. Parramatta, well, they'll just probably, I think by memory, they were training at Granville Park during the 80s there, especially when Cumberland Oval got burnt down. But yeah, Granville Park comes to mind, but absolutely nowhere near the training facilities that these current day Penrith Panthers team has. And that's not to say that training wasn't hard, but it just wasn't the same. Sports science wasn't the same either back in those days as well. I don't even know if the 80s players knew what a recovery session was. I think that might have just been at the pub over a few beers after a game, probably at the Leagues Club as well. So I don't know if they would have known what that is, whereas these days it's a hell of a lot different in recovery mode as well. As I mentioned before, contract wages were smaller, if not, very small in the 80s. Penrith, well, they're obviously on a lot more money. There's obviously a lot more money around in rugby league, and they are full-time professional athletes, so they obviously get paid a lot more. Look, Isaiah Yeo, he came out in the, I think it was his, congratulations to him, by the way, as well, winning the Merv Cartwright Medal for Player of the Year at the Panthers in 2024. He's come out about this Ray Price article and said that, well, 4 premierships is better than 3, isn't it? Nathan Cleary on Instagram as well. I don't know whether it was a thinking face or a smiley face or something like that, or a confused emoji, but he posted that on Instagram as well. So they've had a little bit of a reaction to Ray Price's comments in the Daily Telegraph article by Dean Ritchie. Now, look, I must say as well, I have not read the article, so I do not know what is in it. All I'm going off is by people's comments on social media and the headline as well. So I have not read the article, so I do not know what Ray said in the article. I did contact Ray himself to see if he wanted to come onto the podcast to talk about that article, but he politely declined to come on there, so I wish he would have come on and said that, but he politely declined. And look, that's fair enough. He has said what he wanted to say in that article with Dean Ritchie in the Daily Telegraph. So those two players there, Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, just reacting back to that, and I'm sure there's probably plenty of other Panther players and fans definitely the fans, they have reacted to his comments as well. So look, no salary cap in the 80s, obviously. These days there is a salary cap that every team must abide to, and that's how we have seen players leave the Panthers, the successful Panthers, from over the last 4 years. Now, what I can work out is that in 2021, Penrith obviously used 17 players in the grand final against South Sydney up there at Suncorp Stadium. Now, a bit of a difference as well. Parramatta's first premiership in 1981, there was only 15 players used because they had a two-man bench. So, look, that's a little bit of a difference there. But in 2022, there was only 4 different players to that side that took the field in 2021, and then in 2023, another different 4 players that took the field there, and in 2024, another 2 different players that played in this grand final that was just played against the Melbourne Storm. So from what I can calculate, and I could be wrong here, so please correct me if I am wrong, but the Panthers have used 27 players in all 4 premierships, the 21, 22, 23, 24. So that includes 8 players in all 4 premierships for the Panthers. So a pretty outstanding effort there from their 8 players that have played in every grand final. So Dylan Edwards, Brian To'o, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris, Liam Martin, Isaiah Yeo, and Scott Sorensen as well, I'm going to say. I think they're the 8 that have played in all 4 premierships for the Panthers, which is a amazing effort if you don't say so yourself, because it's pretty important in a rugby league team to have consistency of players so you can get those combinations together, and they had 8 in all 4 premierships. When you flip over to the Parramatta side, now I haven't gone off their 3 in a row premierships. I've gone in all of their 4 premierships. So you've got 4 premierships in a row there for the Panthers. I'm going to say you've got 4 premierships there for Parramatta, which they have won in 81, 82, 83 and 86. So in 81 they used 15 players. As I mentioned before, there was only a 2-man bench. 7 different players in 82, 4 different players in 83, 5 different players in 1986, and that is a total of 31 players in those 4 premierships. So an extra 4 players that Parramatta have used in those 4 premierships, keeping in mind though that there is a 3-year gap between 83 and 86. 7 players have played in all 7 grand finals for the Parramatta Eels, and that includes obviously Ray Price himself, who actually captained the 86 grand final, Paul Taylor, Mick Cronin, Steve Ella, Eric Groth, Brett Kenny, Peter Sterling. They are the 7 players that have played in all 4 premierships for Parramatta. Look, if you want to break it down, you can have a look at the halves for both of those sides. Brett Kenny, Peter Sterling, absolute legends of Parramatta and rugby league. Brett Kenny was 20 years old when he played his first grand final for Parramatta. Peter Sterling was 21. And we've all known and seen what they have done in the game of rugby league. Kangaroo Tours State of Origin Series wins, Golden Boot winners. Peter Sterling, Dally M Player of the Year 2 times. Brett Kenny, 2 tries in 3 consecutive grand finals. Had another 2 disallowed in a 4th grand final. Won a Challenge Cup over in England with Wigan against Peter Sterling, who was playing for Hull at the time. So we know what these players can do. Brett Kenny was actually the man of the match in the 82-83 grand finals. And Peter Sterling won what they first called the Clive Churchill Medal in 1986, so player of the match in that one. A award that he actually thinks that Paul Taylor should have probably won in that game, and he thinks that the judges maybe got the long blonde hair a little bit mixed up in that one, but so they have won, between those 2, they have won man of the match performances in grand finals, 82, 83, 86. If you flip the other to the other side, the dark side, the Penrith Panthers. They certainly weren't too dark on Sunday night just gone, wearing their pink jerseys there, the Pink Panthers, first team in 117 years to wear pink jerseys. They were both 24 years old when they played in that first grand final win for the Panthers in 2021. We have seen, obviously, what Nathan Cleary has done in the game so far to date. 2 Clive Churchill medals. He has played State of Origin. He has made his Australian debut, but it's probably in the grand finals where you probably see the best of Nathan Cleary. He practically won it for Penrith last year against the Broncos. That's why he was the Clive Churchill medal winner in 2023. Scored that match-winning try right at the end. He set up Moses Leota, I think it was, for a try. 40-20 as well. Those 3 things spring to mind. Look, Jerome Luai, he hasn't got a man of the match in a grand final, but he still is a 4-time premiership winner, off to the West Tigers next season. Has played Origin, obviously played for Samoa as well, is just about to go over to England to take on England over there in a test series. So we have seen what he can do as well. So look, if you put and as I just keep on saying to everyone, it's very hard to sort of imagine this, because obviously Parramatta's run was 40 years ago. Penrith's run is current day, but look, that would be an interesting matchup if you had Brett Kenny and Peter Sterling at 2021, at 20 years of age and 21 years of age in 2024 versus Luai and Cleary at 24 years of age each in the Penrith side. That would be an interesting matchup, wouldn't it? It's sort of, I did say to someone the other day, it did remind me of, I think it was Rocky 6, I think it was, where they had the computer game generated of Rocky versus an up-and-comer fighter. I forget the name of the up-and-coming fighter that was in the game, but then they turned that into a real-life fight. Look, it's in a movie, yeah, I get that, I understand that. So, you know, obviously Rocky's going to win, I think. I think he did anyway in the end. But look, that's in a movie. It obviously doesn't happen in real life, but look, imagine if it did. Look, Parramatta, they had a pretty successful run from 1981, obviously. They didn't make the finals in 1980. 1981, 82, 83 premiers. 84, they made the grand final. They lost to Canterbury 6-4. They lost to St George in the prelim final. I think it was against St George, and then they're obviously premiers in 1986. So if you look at it that way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pretty successful 6 years after not making the finals in 1980. As we all know, a little bit of a downturn since 86. Some hard times from 1987 onwards. And look, it's no doubt success came when Jack Gibson, who was aged 59 years of age at the time when he came to Parramatta, that in his first, second and third years, Parramatta became premiers. It was a masterstroke by, I think it was Dennis Fitzgerald, may have got him over there. I'll have to go back to the podcast interview that I did with Dennis to find out how Jack got to the club. But as soon as he got there, the first year he won a premiership. He coached South Sydney before Parramatta in 78, 79. Didn't coach in 80, and then has just come to Parramatta and won a premiership, or 3 consecutive premierships, and then left Parramatta at the end of the 83 season. John Money's come in for 84, 85, 86, and made the grand final, made a prelim, premiers. If you look at Ivan Cleary started coaching from 2018, the Panthers. He did do a stint before that, but was sacked by Gus Gould, I think it was. Went to the Tigers. That ended pretty badly, I think it was, and then has come back to the Panthers. 2018 took him 2 years to make the grand final in 2020 against the Melbourne Storm, which they lost, and then took him 3 years for that premiership. So that was 2021 and has won the comp 4 years in a row. So still a magnificent effort there. That is for sure. Look, what else have I got to say about this? Well, look, you can make up your own minds. No doubt you already have if you are fans of either Parramatta or Penrith. Look, Ray Price is a legend of rugby league. He's entitled to his opinion. He's just come out and said that in the Daily Telegraph article. And look, he's going to back his teammates. That is for sure. I guess all these other teammates as well they're gonna back themselves. I dare say that some of those would say that Penrith would be they're probably the modern day and the salary cap era greatest team of all time. But look, it's certainly it's a great debate, isn't it? I mean, this Panthers team, they are doing sensational things, not only for themselves, but for the community of Penrith. They are really getting behind them, and they have, as I mentioned before, the changes in the teams. They have lost players, most notably Viliami Kikau, Api Coruscant, Matt Burton. If you look at the season that the Bulldogs had this year, Stephen Crichton as well. So you chuck those players, Matt Burton, Viliami Kikau, and Stephen Crichton, that the year that they had, especially this year anyway, you can see the calibre of player that they have lost that has gone on to, successful careers at their club. Kurt Capewell played in the grand final last year for the Brisbane Broncos. So they have lost a lot of players. Spencer Leniu as well played for the Roosters this year. So they have lost a lot of talented players. And I guess if you look a little bit like at the Parramatta sides over the years, yes, they did lose players as well, but that wasn't due to salary cap, because there was no salary cap back then. The Penrith moves were due to salary cap, because you have to manage that correctly in order to be under your salary cap and not get fined and lose points, stripped to points, or lose points, or not even be playing for points. So you have to manage that cap properly. So you have to be wise with the players that you keep and the ones that you let negotiate with other clubs and move on. And look, Penrith have done that. They've kept the nucleus of their team together. They've kept, as I said, 8 players played in all 4 premierships. They've kept the spine together very successfully. Look, they would have thrown the book at Nathan Cleary to keep him, given him whatever he wanted, and why wouldn't you? Just because of the way he played. I think he played 11 games this year, and he started off the season, had an injury, sat out a lot of the season, came back, and then recently did his shoulder just before the final series, had some more time off, came back and played the finals. He played the first game against the Roosters, the prelim final against the Sharks, and then obviously the grand final as well. So 11 games this year, I think it was, and he's a premiership winner now, a 4-time premiership winner. So yeah, why wouldn't you throw the book at him? But look, a very interesting discussion, that is for sure. Let me know your thoughts about what this discussion is about and what a hypothetical game. Look, the only way that you couldn't even do that. They're just completely different eras. If you could miraculously science your way and create the 80s players of the same age as they were then as to now, that would certainly make for one hell of a game, I reckon. But we just have to, we'll never see that. That is for sure. So, look, it's the same as when you talk about who the greatest players are as well. Again, they are in different eras as well. They play under different conditions, different rules, with different clubs. Another thing that Penrith are doing, I guess you could say, more than Parramatta is they're playing against more teams as well. There's a National Rugby League. They are playing against a team from Melbourne, New Zealand, and 3-4 Queensland sides these days, and there's going to be more teams to come in the future as well. Parramatta, they played in the New South Wales Rugby League competition, so I think there's about 11 or 12 teams in the competition at that time. So Penrith are playing against more teams, more bigger, faster, stronger, fitter players these days, and that's just due to the conditions that they are. They're all full-time athletes these days. So very interesting one there. I just thought I'd jump on and say something about that one. Look, I would love to say that Parramatta would win a game and are the greatest ever team in rugby league, but quite simply they're not. They are right up there as one of the best, but they aren't the best team ever. You got the Dragons in there. You got successful South Sydney sides as well in the 70s, 60s and 70s. So you've got those as well. Obviously, you got some great sides, although they didn't win three or more premierships in a row. You've got those great sides, the Brisbanes in the 90s, the Canberras in the early 80s, the late 80s, 89, 90. So you've got those two sides there as well. Look, if you go even recent times as well, you've got Manly. They were pretty successful in the 2000s. You got obviously Melbourne and the Roosters as well, because we've seen over the last 16 years or so, Penrith, Roosters and Melbourne, one of those sides has always found themselves in a grand final, and Penrith this year have made it to 5 straight grand finals, so that is a huge achievement. But I would love to say that Parramatta are the better side, but I would have to say that in a salary cap era, and where players are bigger, faster, stronger, fitter, you will probably say that Penrith are a better team than the Parramatta Eels on that one. Let me know your thoughts about that one as well. Just before I go, a shout out to a friend of mine who actually helped the Paracave podcast out by buying me 3 coffees, and I will put that link up there. So if you enjoy the entertainment that I provide for you week in, week out on this podcast, then you can support the podcast by buying me a coffee. I would really, really appreciate that one as well. Just like Mr. Stephen Shields did. Thank you very much, Stephen, for your shout of coffees. I really appreciate that one. And he is a massive Penrith Panthers fan, and we have been having a big debate about this one, that is for sure. So for you, Stephen, the Penrith Panthers are the greatest team ever. There you go. There is your shout. I said that I would do it. There it is there. So I hope you enjoyed that shout. But if you would like to support the podcast, please buy me a coffee. I'll put the link in one of the posts, and you can go from there. But thank you very much for listening to this one. Stay tuned for some more entertainment coming your way on the Instagram and Facebook pages. Give them a follow. If you already haven't, please share it with your family and friends. Get them to follow it if they already haven't. That would be most appreciated. But look, I'm going to have to end this podcast by saying what I usually say and what I definitely say throughout the rugby league season. Go Para!
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.